Hey, Michael with X-Force PC. I want to talk about whether or not it makes sense to get a gaming laptop for X-Plane 12. And I'll go ahead and give you the answer up front. Unless you need the portability of a gaming laptop, and possibly you're going to use it for some other things as well, no, it's not really worth it. Now, this is the fastest laptop on the market that you can buy in early January 2023. It's about $4,000. It's got an i9 12900. I forget if it's an HK or an HX, but anyway, it's the fastest. It's the closest to a desktop equivalent i9 you can get. It's got 32 gigs of DDR5. It's got an RTX 3080 Ti laptop graphics card in it. Now keep in mind that when you see a laptop that comes with a 3070, 3080, 3080 Ti, those are the laptop equivalents of those cards. So you can almost knock them down 2 notches. You take a 3080, knock it down 2 notches to about a desktop equivalent would be a 3060. And that's because of power and heat and so forth. They can't clock these things up as high. So a 3080 Ti desktop versus laptop, they're not created equal. You're not going to get the same performance out of them. Now, the reason I'm doing this is when I was doing a whole lot of benchmarks for X-Plane 12, and I found that this performed almost identically in numbers to a desktop that I was testing. And so the desktop equivalent to this in X-Plane 12 is an i7 12700 and an RTX 3060. And so I'll throw that little graph up real quick. Ran 4 different tests, 1080p medium and high, 4K medium and high, almost identical numbers. And the desktop equivalent to this cost about like $1,000 if you built it yourself, maybe $1,500 if you bought it from somebody like me or online or whatever. So you're talking about 4 times the cost of the same performance in a laptop. Now, there are advantages and obviously disadvantages. Obviously, a laptop has a screen and a keyboard, and you can take it places. And that's really the only advantage I can think of. You may say, well, what about size? I don't want a big old huge desktop. Well, first of all, this laptop's pretty big, and then you throw on the fact you got to have this power brick, which is pretty heavy, and you've got a pretty heavy package here. So what about the desktop that tied this thing? Let's look at that. Maybe it's some big monstrosity. Well, no, it's actually this little thing here. Now, obviously, you can build the same config, the i7 and the 3060 in a bigger case, but if size is of importance to you, yeah, this is it. This is what tied this thing. And actually, you can spec this a little bit higher. You could put a i7 13th gen and a 3060 Ti in this and actually beat this by a good 20%. The other thing I like about this mini PC is it has a full-size ATX power supply in it. So there is no power brick. So when you look at the size between these two things, look at the power brick on top of this thing. It's actually, wider than this whole PC. And then weight-wise, this actually weighs less than the laptop and its power brick, maybe just even the laptop itself. So really the only reason I could see getting a gaming laptop for X-Plane is, again, the need to be portable. Maybe you're traveling, you're going to be staying in hotels and things like that. But otherwise, the gaming laptop tends to be, a bad investment. And hey, I'm guilty. I've done it. So the other thing, of course, is you can possibly upgrade this down the road. You can add more RAM. Well, you can do that on a laptop, bigger hard drive. You can sort of do that on a laptop. Change out the graphics card when there's a 40 series that will fit in here. That can be upgraded. So I may do a separate video on this. This is made by ASRock. I think it's called the DeskMeet 300, if I remember correctly. And they make a number of mini PCs, but this is the one that can fit a graphics card and a full-size ATX power supply. Some of their other mini PCs are smaller than this, but they don't fit, obviously, a full-size power supply. They don't fit a graphics card. And many of these mini PCs have an external power brick. And I'm not a fan of mini PCs that have external power bricks, and most of them do, because you're kind of defeating the purpose when you've got to then add on this external brick to what I'd rather have a box that's a little bit larger, but the power supply is inside. That's me. So anyway, there's my 2 cents on should you buy a gaming laptop for X-Plane 12.